Most people fail in critical moments not because they lack intelligence, strength, or the right information, but because they lose command of themselves when emotions rise. The battlefield of life doesn't reward the loudest voice or the most logical argument. It honors the one who stays calm when others crumble. Think back to a time when you saw someone completely right about something but still lose the debate. They had the facts lined up like soldiers. Their reasoning was flawless. Yet the instant the discussion grew heated, they faltered. Their tone wavered, their gestures became frantic, and their composure slipped away. From that moment on, truth no longer mattered. The crowd believed not the person who was right, but the one who appeared unshaken. Every disagreement, every confrontation, every challenge that rattles you is not simply a test of your knowledge, it's a test of your control. The question is never just, are you right? It's, can you stay composed while you're being questioned, criticized, or attacked? Can you think clearly when adrenaline floods your veins and your heart hammers in your chest? Can you hold your voice steady when the easy thing to do would be to shout? Can you keep your energy grounded when everything inside you wants to explode outward? If you can master that, you win not only the argument, but the respect, influence, and quiet authority that come with true power. Niccolo Machiavelli, the political thinker who spent his life studying the mechanics of leadership and control, discovered a truth that still governs human behavior centuries later. Power belongs not to the loud, but to the calm. The ruler who maintains stillness while others panic, the negotiator who keeps composure when insulted, the leader who stays collected amid chaos, those are the ones people follow. Machiavelli witnessed empires rise and collapse, and one lesson stood above all others. The person who cannot command their own emotions can command nothing else. So let's talk about what it means to remain steady, to stay unshaken when pressure comes. Let's explore how your body unconsciously betrays your internal state, how others read you faster than you realize, and how to use tension itself as your greatest advantage. Before diving in, say this silently. I remain unshaken. That phrase carries more weight than you might think. It's not just a statement. It's a foundation for how you handle every test life throws your way. People trust steadiness more than explanations. Here's one of the biggest misconceptions people carry. They believe they can win conflicts purely with logic and perfect wording. So they rehearse their talking points, memorize data, and craft the most rational rebuttals they can think of. But when the moment arrives, none of that matters as much as they hope. Because in emotionally charged situations, people aren't analyzing your words. They're feeling your energy. They're not hearing every detail you say. They're observing how you say it. Every movement, every tone shift, every micro-expression is a signal to others. Your audience, whether one person or a room full of them, is subconsciously scanning you. Is your breathing calm or erratic? Is your gaze steady or darting? Is your voice smooth or trembling? In a split second, people decide whether to trust or doubt you based on these physical cues. Machiavelli wrote that men are governed as much by appearance as by reality. That means how you appear, your composure, your presence, is equally as important as the truth you hold. Picture two people arguing. One has the facts but keeps fidgeting, glancing away, voice cracking under stress. The other might be partially wrong, but they speak evenly, maintain eye contact, and move with calm assurance. Who do you instinctively side with? Always the calm one. Because steadiness reads as confidence. It communicates that you are grounded, trustworthy, and in control. Nervous energy, on the other hand, signals self-doubt. It suggests to others that you don't even believe your own position. This is why so many intelligent people lose credibility. They focus only on what to say, not how to be. Preparation should go beyond rehearsing lines. It's about preparing your presence. When tension arises, your first responsibility isn't to defend yourself, it's to stabilize yourself. If you stay calm, even when you don't have the perfect words, people will lean in. They will give you time. They will sense control in your demeanor and equate it with truth. Think about a job interview where you're asked a question you didn't expect. The average person panics. Their speech speeds up, their pitch rises, they fill the silence with filler words to hide discomfort. The interviewer can feel the anxiety. But someone who simply pauses, breathes, and says, "That's a good question. Let me think about that," instantly changes the atmosphere. The room relaxes with them. They project confidence, not because they had a perfect answer, but because they didn't let uncertainty shake their energy. That's the person who gets remembered, and usually hired. The same principle applies to relationships, work, family conflicts, or public pressure. Your logic matters far less than your composure. Your steadiness becomes a form of silent persuasion. When people disagree with you but still sense that you're centered, they can't help but respect you. Calm presence commands attention in a way that words alone never could. Stability builds trust. Nervousness breeds doubt. Control your body, and your mind will follow. Telling someone to stay calm is easy advice. Living it in real time, when your heart races and adrenaline surges, is another story entirely. But understanding how your body communicates under stress is the key to mastering it. The truth is, your body is a mirror that reflects your inner world long before your words do. You might insist, "I'm fine," but if your shoulders tense, your breathing shortens, and your eyes dart away, nobody believes you. People can read tension even if they don't consciously realize they're doing it. It takes them about 3 seconds to sense whether you're composed or flustered. Every gesture speaks. Shaky hands broadcast nervousness. Rapid blinking or restless eyes signal insecurity. Crossed arms scream defensiveness. Quick, shallow breaths betray panic. Even your voice betrays you. When it speeds up or rises in pitch, people can tell you're unsettled. Machiavelli once observed that people judge by what they see more than by what they hear. So when you enter a high-stakes situation, your body language becomes the silent headline that people read before your words even register. To truly remain unshaken, start with your body, because the mind follows the body's lead, not the other way around. Many people get this backward. They think calming their thoughts will automatically calm their body. But when your nervous system is already in fight or flight mode, thinking your way to calmness is like trying to stop a storm with logic. You must reverse the sequence. Steady your body first, and your mind will adjust. How? Begin with your breathing. When stress hits, your breathing naturally becomes rapid and shallow. You start breathing from your chest instead of your diaphragm, sending a message to your brain that danger is near. When that happens, your body triggers a survival response. Your logical brain shuts down while your emotional brain takes over. That's why people say foolish things in anger or panic. Their intellect is offline. But when you consciously slow your breath, deep inhale through the nose, slow exhale through the mouth, you send the opposite message: we are safe. Your heart rate drops, your muscles loosen, and your reasoning returns. Next, pay attention to your posture. How you physically position yourself affects both how you feel and how you're perceived. Stand or sit like someone who belongs. Feet planted firmly, shoulders relaxed but open, spine straight. Avoid constant fidgeting or shifting weight. When sitting, don't slouch or hide your hands. Keep them visible and still. Nervous habits like tapping fingers, playing with your phone, or folding your arms betray discomfort. Every unnecessary movement tells the world you're not in control. But when your body is grounded and still, your mind interprets that as strength and begins to behave accordingly. Finally, your voice. When emotions spike, people often talk faster, louder, or higher pitched. That's the voice of panic trying to escape. The problem? The faster you speak, the less credible you sound. To project composure, deliberately slow down your speech. Speak at about 70% of your normal pace. Lower your pitch slightly. Maintain consistent volume. And when silence arrives, don't rush to fill it. Use it. Pause deliberately. Silence isn't awkward, it's powerful. It creates space, and space draws attention. Most people fear silence and will talk just to fill it. That's when you regain control of the conversation. The fascinating thing is that calm body language doesn't only influence how others perceive you, it changes how they feel. When someone is yelling at you and you remain composed, their mind begins to question itself. They expect you to react with the same intensity, but your calmness disarms them. Their emotional energy has nowhere to land. They start wondering, why isn't this person shaken? Do they know something I don't? That small psychological imbalance shifts power in your favor without a single word. In short, mastery of your physical presence is mastery of perception, and perception often is reality. If you can train your body to stay calm, your mind will follow its lead, and others will instinctively defer to your steadiness. 3. Emotional composure is a form of power. We live in a world that glorifies reaction. People rush to defend themselves, to clap back, to prove a point instantly. But reaction is the enemy of power. Power exists in restraint, the ability to pause, to breathe, to assess, to choose your response consciously, is one of the rarest and strongest skills a person can possess. Those who react emotionally become predictable. Those who remain centered become formidable. Consider how true leaders behave in crisis. They don't run around shouting orders and panic. They project calm certainty even when chaos reigns. Why? Because people don't follow panic, they follow composure. When you stay composed under stress, you become an anchor for others. You radiate safety. Your calmness stabilizes the environment. That's why Machiavelli emphasized self-control as the foundation of command. The leader who cannot master themselves will inevitably be mastered by circumstances. When you cultivate emotional control, you begin to see conflict differently. Instead of viewing arguments as battles to win, you see them as opportunities to reveal strength. Every challenge becomes a mirror showing how much command you truly have over yourself. When others lose their temper, they expose their weakness. When you remain centered, you demonstrate mastery. Over time, people stop testing you not because they fear you, but because they respect you. And here's the deeper truth. Composure doesn't mean suppression. It doesn't mean pretending not to feel anger or fear. It means channeling those emotions into steady power. The energy that could have become rage or panic becomes focus and clarity instead. Emotional control isn't coldness. It's refinement. Fire that burns uncontrolled destroys. Fire contained becomes a forge. Becoming unshaken to truly live this way requires practice. It's not built overnight. It starts with awareness, catching yourself the next time your pulse quickens or your voice rises. Notice it. Don't judge it, just see it. Then consciously slow down. Breathe deeper. Loosen your shoulders. Speak more slowly. Over time, this becomes second nature. You begin to carry an aura of quiet authority everywhere you go. Remember this. People don't remember every word you said, but they never forget how you made them feel. And the person who makes others feel safe, heard, and steady, even in conflict, always holds the real power. You don't need to dominate the room by shouting. You dominate it by being the one who doesn't flinch. So the next time you're challenged, don't focus on proving yourself. Focus on centering yourself. Let your steadiness speak for you. Because calmness isn't weakness, it's strategy. And strategy wins wars long after emotion burns out. Repeat it again, and this time, let it sink in. I remain unshaken. That's not just a statement, it's a declaration of mastery. The world will keep throwing storms your way, but if you can stay calm through the thunder, people will look to you as their lighthouse. That is the essence of composure, the root of influence, and the quiet power that turns ordinary individuals into leaders. Power doesn't belong to the one who yells the loudest or hits the hardest. It belongs to the one who remains centered when everyone else loses balance. When you can control your body, you can command the energy of any moment. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Real strength isn't rooted in aggression. It's anchored in presence. When the pressure intensifies, when someone throws their frustration or anger at you, when tension in the air feels thick enough to cut, the answer is never to meet chaos with chaos. It's to slow down. Draw a deeper breath. Straighten your posture. Lower your tone. Because the instant you master the stillness of your body, your mind follows. Master both, and no one, not insult, not stress, not conflict, can shake you. But composure alone isn't enough. You must also master detachment. Detachment isn't apathy, it's clarity. It's the art of not letting emotions dictate the direction of your thinking. Most people collapse under pressure not because they lack intelligence, but because they allow their feelings to hijack reason. You've felt it before. That burn in your chest when someone questions your ability, challenges your competence, or criticizes something you've worked hard on. That flash of indignation that screams, "How dare they?" In that moment, logic disappears. You stop thinking forward, you start reacting. You're no longer focused on solving the problem. You're defending your pride. And once you start defending your ego, you lose sight of the bigger picture. The moment you take something personally, you stop being strategic. You're no longer planning 3 steps ahead. You're just swinging wildly to feel right now. You're trading long-term victory for short-term validation. That's where detachment becomes your secret weapon. It's the ability to step outside of the chaos and see things from a higher vantage point. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care about the outcome. It means you don't allow anger, embarrassment, or hurt to cloud your perception of reality. It's the pause between the impulse and the response. It's when you stop reacting as a wounded ego and start responding as a wise observer. Machiavelli once wrote that a wise man acts according to necessity, not emotion. That single line is the backbone of self-mastery. Do what must be done, not what temporarily feels good, not what soothes your ego, not what wins the argument in the next 30 seconds but costs you respect for the next 30 days. Real intelligence is doing what's required to get the result that matters most. And most of the time, that means slowing down, breathing deeply, and staying calm enough to think clearly when others cannot. Imagine this. You're in a meeting, presenting a project you've poured weeks of effort into. You're proud of your work, confident in your delivery, until someone interrupts. "This won't work," they say. "We've tried things like this before and they failed." Their tone cuts sharp. The room falls silent. Eyes turn toward you. Now you stand at a crossroads. 2 paths appear. One is the path of ego. The other, the path of clarity. If you choose ego, you'll feel the heat rise in your face. You'll respond fast and defensively. Actually, if you'd reviewed my full proposal, you'd see that this is nothing like before. The air tightens. The critic doubles down. The audience feels the tension. Even if you're right, you've lost something. Credibility, grace, poise. Because you let emotion dictate your response. But if you choose detachment, the entire scene changes. You take a slow breath. You remember, this isn't personal, it's information. Whether that person's feedback is valid or not doesn't matter yet. You're here to make the best decision, not to protect your pride. So instead of snapping, you nod. That's an interesting point. What part do you think might not work? The pressure drops instantly. The energy shifts. The critic either provides a useful insight or reveals their lack of depth. Either way, you win, because you didn't turn the conversation into a battlefield. You stayed the strategist while everyone else expected a soldier. Detachment is not coldness, it's control. It's emotional intelligence in its purest form. It protects you from yourself. How many times have you said something in anger, only to regret it hours or days later? That regret always comes from the same place. You let your emotions drive when your judgment should have been at the wheel. Once words are spoken, they can't be unsaid. You can apologize, but you can't erase. Detachment is what gives you that vital second to stop and ask yourself, if I say this, does it move me closer to my goal or further away? 9 times out of 10, silence wins that argument. At first, practicing detachment feels unnatural. You'll catch yourself mid-sentence, realizing you're about to react. You'll have to consciously breathe, deliberately slow down. You'll remind yourself not to take it personally. But over time, it becomes instinct. Eventually, you start noticing the surge of emotion the instant it rises. Instead of letting it rule you, you observe it. You pause. You step back. You respond with intention, not impulse. That pause, those few seconds of awareness, are where your real power begins. Because in that moment, you stop being a puppet of emotion and start being the master of response. When you can pause before reacting, you own the situation. You're not flailing to protect yourself. You're guiding the outcome. It's the difference between chaos and composure, between losing control and orchestrating it. The one who controls that space between stimulus and response controls everything. Let's take another example. Someone insults you in public. Maybe they question your intelligence, mock your appearance, or try to embarrass you in front of others. Instinct tells you to fight back. You want to defend your name, prove your worth, strike harder. But think about what's really happening. That person wants to provoke you. They want to make you react emotionally so they can claim victory without merit. If you lash out, you hand them exactly what they came for. But if you stay still, if you reply with calm curiosity, interesting perspective. Thank you for sharing. You flip the entire power dynamic. Suddenly, they look unbalanced, angry, insecure. You, on the other hand, look composed, confident, untouchable. That's what true strength looks like. Not a loud explosion of emotion, but silent control under pressure. Machiavelli understood this principle well. The one who controls their emotions controls the outcome. When you detach from the chaos, you gain clarity. Clarity sharpens your decisions. Better decisions create better results. It's a chain reaction that begins with one simple act, refusing to let emotions lead. So, the next time you feel heat rising, the next time someone tests your patience, breathe. Step back, watch yourself. Observe the situation like a strategist studying the battlefield, not a soldier charging blindly. Respond with intelligence, not impulse. That's how you remain unshaken. Now let's go deeper into the art of turning calmness itself into leverage. Remaining calm isn't just about self-defense, it's a weapon of influence. In moments of conflict, calmness radiates like a beacon. When everyone else is shouting, interrupting, or losing their temper, the calm person becomes the gravitational center of the room. Without saying much, they pull focus. People's voices lower to match theirs. The chaos starts to organize itself around their stillness. Suddenly, they're the one everyone looks toward, not because they demanded attention, but because their composure earned it. Calmness, in a world addicted to reaction, becomes a rare and magnetic force. When you remain composed in heated moments, people naturally defer to you. Even those who outrank you sense that inner steadiness and unconsciously look for cues. Authority, in that instant, shifts, not to the loudest, but to the most grounded. This is one of the oldest truths in human psychology. People crave stability. When the environment feels unstable, they instinctively gravitate toward the person who appears least shaken. It doesn't matter whether that person has the official title, the most experience, or the biggest resume. The moment tension fills the air, leadership belongs to whoever projects calm control. Picture yourself in a workplace dispute. Colleagues argue, tempers flare, voices overlap. You don't interrupt. You don't raise your tone. You wait, breathing evenly, grounded. Eventually, someone notices. Let's hear what you think. And suddenly, the floor is yours. Not because you demanded it, but because your energy commanded it. That's calmness as leverage. It's not manipulation. It's mastery. It's understanding that human nature rewards the one who brings order to emotional chaos. This principle extends everywhere. In relationships, when your partner is upset and you remain calm, you instantly become the reasonable one, even if you're not entirely right. In family conflicts, when everyone's emotions are high and your voice stays soft but steady, people turn to you for direction. At work, when others panic and you keep your composure, leaders start to see you as leadership material. Why? Because steadiness communicates reliability. People trust calmness even more than competence. When everything feels uncertain, calmness feels like certainty. And here's the secret. Calmness doesn't just look like strength, it creates it. When you slow your breathing, straighten your body, and lower your voice, you send signals to your own brain that say, I'm safe, I'm in control. Your physiology follows your behavior. That's why you must treat calmness as both an internal practice and an external strategy. It's not a facade. It's feedback to your nervous system. Calmness also creates what's known as the illusion of competence. When you appear collected, others assume you know what you're doing, even when you're figuring it out on the fly. Humans are wired to equate calmness with confidence. That's why a calm tone during uncertainty draws trust, while panic pushes people away. When people trust you, they give you power. They listen, they defer, they follow. That's leverage. But leverage, when used correctly, isn't about control. It's about influence. It's about guiding tension toward resolution instead of escalation. When you're calm, you can say, let's take a breath. Let's approach this differently. And people listen, not because your words are magic, but because your energy isn't adding to the problem. You're not reacting, you're regulating. You've become the steady pulse amid the chaos, and others sink to your rhythm without realizing it. Machiavelli wrote endlessly about perception and authority. He knew that how people see you often matters more than what's true behind the scenes. A ruler who appears confident is treated as confident. A leader who appears calm is trusted as capable. This isn't deception, it's understanding psychology. People decide whom to follow not based on data, but on feeling. And calmness creates that feeling of safety and competence. Let's bring this back to something personal. Imagine you're in a heated conversation with someone you care about, a friend, a partner, a family member. They're upset. Words are flying. They're saying things meant to sting. You feel the impulse to strike back, to defend yourself, to hurt them as they hurt you. But instead, you stay calm. You listen. You don't interrupt. You breathe deeply and let their storm pass. What happens? At first, they might keep raising their voice. But slowly, they notice you're not reacting. Their energy starts to lose direction. Their words soften. They start to reflect on their own tone. By staying calm, you didn't just control yourself, you influenced them. That's the quiet power of composure. It's not passive. It's not weakness. It's strategic restraint, the kind that turns chaos into opportunity. Calmness transforms tension into leverage. Detachment transforms emotion into clarity. And self-control transforms ordinary people into leaders. Remember this: the strongest person in any room is not the one who dominates it. It's the one who doesn't need to. The one who can absorb heat without burning, pressure without cracking, and criticism without collapsing. That's who people trust. That's who people follow. That's who wins. So, when life tests you, and it will, slow down. Ground your body. Steady your breathing. Speak with intention. Don't take it personally. Don't let ego drive your choices. Stay detached, stay calm, and watch as the storm that once threatened to consume you begins to calm itself in your presence. Because the one who remains unshaken in chaos doesn't just survive it, they command it. Say it once more, and this time believe it fully. I remain unshaken. That isn't just a phrase, it's a promise to yourself. A declaration that you will no longer surrender your peace to provocation, your clarity to anger, or your power to reaction. You are steady. You are centered. And no matter how loud the world becomes, you will always hold the quiet strength of someone who knows exactly who they are. There's an undeniable energy that surrounds calmness, a quiet force that doesn't shout to be heard yet commands the entire room without saying a word. When everyone else loses their grip, when emotions rise and tempers flare, your stillness becomes magnetic. People sense something different about you. They start noticing that while chaos swirls around, you remain grounded, deliberate, and untouched. That kind of energy doesn't just soothe a situation, it redefines it. Because while others are reacting, you're observing. While they're fighting to be understood, you're already understanding. And that's where your true leverage begins. When you stay calm while another person loses control, something fascinating happens. They begin to feel the imbalance. Their raised voice starts to echo awkwardly. Their gestures seem exaggerated. Their emotions, once justified, begin to look excessive. The contrast exposes them. It's not you who changes them. It's your calmness that creates a mirror. The more centered you stay, the more uneasy they become, being the only one emotionally unsteady. Eventually, without even realizing it, they start to soften their tone, slow their breathing, and match your energy. That's not manipulation. That's leadership through presence. When emotions finally settle, what was once a battlefield turns into common ground. Now, there's space for real conversation, one where both sides actually listen instead of just trying to hurt or defend. That's not power over someone. That's power with someone. You've transformed conflict into collaboration. You've shown that calmness isn't passivity. It's influence in its most refined form. This ability to stay composed doesn't just protect you. It transforms the atmosphere. It changes how people see you and how they behave around you. When you refuse to add fuel to the fire, you become the balance point that everyone subconsciously gravitates toward. You stop being part of the storm and instead become the eye of it. Still, steady, unshaken. That's the person everyone begins to look to for clarity when confusion takes over. That's what it means to be the calm in chaos. But being calm once isn't enough. Anyone can hold their composure for a moment. True mastery comes from consistency. Anyone can appear patient on a good day, but only those who train themselves to remain composed on the bad ones earn a reputation that can't be touched. And that reputation, that unshakable identity, is what separates ordinary people from those others instinctively follow. When you maintain calmness again and again, in meetings, Arguments, high-pressure moments, or personal crises, people begin to notice. At first, they might think you just got lucky. Maybe the situation wasn't serious enough to test you. But when it keeps happening, when every single challenge is met with the same quiet confidence, a label begins to form. People start describing you differently. They never lose their cool. You can't rattle them. They always know what to do. That reputation starts to travel faster than your words ever could. And here's the beauty of it. A strong reputation does the heavy lifting for you. Once people know you as someone who cannot be provoked easily, they stop trying. The tactics that used to work on others, anger, manipulation, threats, no longer work on you, and they know it. So instead of wasting energy trying to unsettle you, they meet you with respect. They adjust their tone, their approach, even their words, because they recognize your emotional stability demands the same in return. Your calmness becomes more than a habit. It becomes armor. Not the kind that blocks connection, but the kind that filters out nonsense before it even reaches you. It's a natural defense system that keeps your peace intact. Think about the people you know who never seem to lose control. There's something almost mysterious about them. You find yourself treating them carefully, not because they're intimidating, but because you instinctively respect their balance. You can't play games with them because games don't work when the other person isn't reacting. Now compare that to the ones who explode at the slightest inconvenience. You know exactly how to push their buttons, and because of that, you never really respect them. You might tread lightly around them, but it's not respect. It's avoidance. Nobody follows instability. People follow steadiness. Niccolo Machiavelli, often misunderstood as ruthless, actually understood this better than most. He observed that a ruler who is unpredictable loses the loyalty of his people. When those under you never know which version of you they'll meet, kind or cruel, calm or chaotic, they stop trusting your leadership. But when you are consistent in your behavior, even if firm or demanding, they find reassurance in knowing what to expect. Predictability builds trust. It's no different for you. When people see that you respond to pressure with the same controlled energy every time, they begin to associate you with reliability. It's not a performance. It's who you are. Your steadiness becomes part of your character, your personal signature. Soon, others will describe you that way before you even enter a room. Bring her in. She knows how to handle tough moments. Let him take the lead. He never panics. That's the beginning of influence. But let's be honest. Building. That kind of reputation takes more than good intentions. It takes discipline. You can't practice calmness selectively. You can't be composed at work and reckless at home, serene with strangers and irritable with family. True composure must live in every version of you. That's what makes it authentic. And yes, it's hard. The first time you choose not to react when someone disrespects you, your ego will scream for revenge. When you take a deep breath instead of firing back, it'll feel unnatural. But every time you make that choice, you're rewiring yourself. You're training your emotional muscles the same way athletes train their bodies. The more you practice detachment and steady response, the stronger those inner muscles become. Eventually, calmness won't feel forced. It'll become instinctive. You'll feel emotions rise but not be ruled by them. You'll notice the surge of irritation, the pulse quickening, the urge to respond. But instead of reacting, you'll observe. That tiny pause, that moment between impulse and action, is where power truly lives. Most people never find it because they're too busy reacting. But once you learn to use it, it changes everything. In that space, you decide who you're going to be. You're no longer at the mercy of someone else's behavior. You're not being dragged by your emotions or manipulated by another's outburst. You are choosing your response consciously, and whoever chooses their response controls the outcome. Now understand this, people will test you, especially in the beginning. When others see you calm, they'll poke harder to see if it's real. They'll raise their voice, make cutting remarks, or try to push boundaries. They want to see if you're pretending. That's the nature of human curiosity. We test what we don't yet believe. But if you remain unshaken through those early challenges, they stop testing. They realize it's not an act, it's who you are. And from that point on, they treat you differently. That's when you've truly won the long game. You no longer have to prove yourself. You no longer have to fight every battle. Your reputation fights for you. People approach you with respect from the start, because they know what you stand for. Now let's take this deeper. What happens when you stay calm, not just for yourself, but for others? When your composure starts to steady those around you, that's when you become a quiet leader. Imagine a family argument, emotions high, voices raised. You stay composed. You listen. You don't interrupt. Slowly, everyone else begins to lower their tone, because it's uncomfortable to be the only one yelling when someone else remains serene. That's how energy shifts. Your calm becomes contagious. In business, in leadership, in relationships, it's the same. When people lose direction, they look for stability. When uncertainty rises, they follow whoever appears certain. That's the secret behind leadership presence. Not charisma, not dominance, but emotional steadiness. People don't follow the loudest person in the room. They follow the one who seems least afraid. This consistency and calmness earns you something far greater than fear or affection. It earns you respect. Fear fades once authority is gone. Love can shift when emotions change. But respect, real respect, lingers. It's built on observed behavior over time. And once you're known for unwavering composure, that respect becomes unbreakable. The truth is, power doesn't belong to the loudest voice or the strongest fist. It belongs to the person who cannot be rattled. The one who, no matter the situation, can see clearly and act with purpose. The one who's not controlled by circumstances but by choice. When you master yourself, everything outside you begins to fall in line. Being calm doesn't mean being cold. It doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you choose not to be consumed. You still experience emotion, but you process before expressing. You speak with intention, not impulse. You respond from clarity, not chaos. That's not suppression. That's mastery. Every time you maintain calmness when others expect a reaction, you add another brick to your fortress. Every crisis you navigate without panic strengthens your foundation. Every insult you meet with composure builds your authority. Eventually, your calm becomes so well known that it precedes you. People don't question your steadiness. They rely on it, and that's the ultimate form of power. Quiet, steady, consistent. The kind of power that doesn't demand respect but earns it effortlessly. The kind that doesn't need to shout to be heard, because its presence alone commands attention. So practice this daily. When someone cuts you off in traffic, breathe. When a coworker snaps, stay centered. When life throws unexpected stress your way, slow your breathing, ground your body, and choose stillness. Each of these moments is training. Each small victory over reaction is a step toward becoming untouchable. Eventually, calmness stops being something you do. It becomes who you are, not just at work or in arguments, but in every setting. With strangers, with family, with yourself. That's when you've reached true mastery. That's when you've become unshaken. And when that happens, you don't just survive confrontation, you transcend it. You don't just avoid chaos, you redefine it. You become the calm that others seek, the anchor they trust, the presence they remember. So the next time the world tries to test you, remind yourself of this. Nothing moves me. Say it with conviction, live it through action. And prove it through consistency. Because real strength doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It doesn't waver. It simply stands, calm, collected, and untouchable.